Review it, a playthrough of a certain dude's VRMMO life. Episode 3. Episode begins with a tiny fairy approaching Earth, but he is unable to make a contract as his crystal is broken. He then heads on a quest into a dungeon. Entering the dungeon, he is attacked by a giant spider, but quickly shoots it down. After that, orbs arise from the dead spider and guide him to a rock with multiple orbs. He moves the rock and finds a ring. Not knowing its purpose, he keeps it with him as a memory of the adventure. He then gets notified about the second half of the fairy ball tournament. Reaching the city, he is informed that it is a PvP battle tournament where players can use the fairies they collected. He learns that he can repair his crystal and make a contract with the fairy. Earth learns from Black that the craftsmen have an agreement that they inform each other if a player targets them for PvP, and also learns about the new town. The next day, Earth finds the people staring at him and checks his title. He learns his title is Fairy Playa and feels humiliated. He decides to do a PvP to get rid of the title and is immediately approached by Rona. Just as they are about to start fighting, Rona's fairy doesn't agree to fight him because he is the Fairy Playa. Later that day, Rona contacts him to tell him that her fairy won't eat anything and requests that he cook something on her behalf. Unfortunately, like Rona, half the server approaches Earth for the same. He explains that it began with just one man asking him and then half the server. Later, Earth thanks Rona for helping him. They then head over to check out the PvP happening in the next town and catch an intense battle. They witness a fairy ignore its master's command, causing the master to lose. Earth claims it happens when the master doesn't treat the fairy kindly. Just then, they see the master about to assault the fairy. Earth recalls that if a master crosses a certain limit, the fairy grows stronger and attacks the master. Luckily, the master does not assault the fairy. After that, the player of the disobedient fairy approaches Earth for tips on how to bond with the fairy. Earth advises him to treat it like a friend and cooks up a meal for the master to feed its fairy. At the end of a playthrough of a certain dude's VRMMO Life Episode 3, a heavily armored player named Silver approaches him to talk. A playthrough of a certain dude's VRMMO Life Episode 3 is fairly disappointing, especially considering it marks the beginning of Part 2 of a competition. In this chapter, Earth decides to explore a dungeon and finds a ring inside it. The exploration part is quite short, and Earth faces only one giant spider inside. The second portion of the chapter is dedicated to PvP battles, which ultimately has a moral of the story, which is to treat your pets well. However, in the last few minutes, we see a heavily armored mysterious man named Silver walking up to Earth. The episode is quite light and fun, but misses an opportunity to deliver any thrilling subplots or intense action sequences. The episode focuses more on comedy and a wholesome morale, keeping everything else out of sight. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.